The tilt is real.
The tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of The Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena. Let's go. It is Wednesday, my dudes, and welcome into another episode of the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. I am John Swanson, alongside my good buddy co-host, FF One of a Kind. Juan, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing fantastic, Mr. Swanson. Any day we get to talk about fantasy football is a great day.
I love that. It sure is. And we are continuing our series, tilting into the top 12 finishers at their respective positions from 2020. Last week, we broke down the top 12 wide receivers. And this week, we are jumping into the top 12 tight ends of 2020. I
love it. And it felt like top 40 wide receivers. It didn't even feel like a top 12 wide receivers.
It did. You're right. And I am, so this week I am having, if anything sounds different, there are two reasons. One being I just broke, if anyone's watching, my microphone stand. See that right there?
That can't
Clean
be
off.
good.
It cannot be. I twisted it. All I had to do was twist it. I was trying to get it set up. Here's the other side of it. Boom. Look at that. Clean break. Unbelievable. So that's the first thing. That's the first reason why I may sound different. The second reason why things may sound different is because you may be missing a voice right now. That voice is Chef. Chef is in Florida right now doing some big things, back in the kitchen, making things happen. We're happy for him. He's killing it down there. We may or may not have a guest appearance.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah, because he popped up last week, so he may pop up again this week.
I got a feeling he'll pop up at some point.
I do too. He's just one of the, just pop up when you least expect it, which is, I love that element of surprise. It's a good time.
Tilt right in.
Yeah. So again, we're going to be jumping into the top 12 tight ends on this episode. But first things first, Juan, I think we should probably do what we normally do and jump into the weekly reel.
Let's keep it real.
Let's do it. It's the weekly reel, presented by the Tilt is Real. It's the weekly reel. Let me hear that news. All right, so right off the bat, before we kick this off, we do have a few spots left for our listener Dynasty League startup for the Tilt is Real. So please reach out to us at the Tilt is Real on Twitter or mailbag at thetiltisreal.com for your shot up against us and other listeners in Dynasty. And if you're not sure about Dynasty, because it is a different animal than a redraft league, go back and listen to episodes 36 through 38. We did a Tilting Through Dynasty series. And Juan, we had some great guests during that series too, didn't we?
We did, man. We had Tyler Gunther, DHH, Mr. DHH himself, and Corey Spala in episodes 36 and 37. And then we kind of went into a way to draft into it and get involved in it. And it's going to be great. We have all of our listeners lined up. Everybody's in. There's a couple spots left open still. So if anybody's listening to this, we'll keep going through it. And we probably won't do that draft until after the rookie draft. So there's plenty of time for everybody to jump in, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It is. It's going to be a lot of fun, and no pressure either. I mean, it's a free thing. We just want to have, after we started doing the Sunday Tilt, this is our first season doing this podcast, and it's been, everyone who's jumped in and listened has been amazing so far. So we would love to just do some fantasy football with y'all, come on in, let's make it happen. With the Tilters that we've connected and we bonded with a lot of the guys and their repeat, viewers, and they come back and check us out and they download our stuff. So, just to give them a chance to get to know us, and we get to trade and have a little fun in a dynasty league, and it goes year round. So that way you don't lose the touch with football.
100%. And a lot of you guys are smart out there, man. I'm telling you, a lot of the Tilt squad, they know what they're doing. So
yeah, they raised a lot of trophies. They raised a lot of trophies this year, and it was dope.
Yeah, we got some biceps this year, man. Raising a lot of trophies up there.
Yeah. So speaking of biceps, all-world defensive lineman J.J. Watt agreed to terms with the Arizona Cardinals. So Captain America is going to be in Arizona, and he's going to get $31 million over the next 2 years, with 23 of that being guaranteed.
Yeah,
now,
man. Go ahead.
How do you like that? Like, do you think it was for the money, or do you think there's something else involved? There were rumors that he texted Kyler Murray and he already told them that he believes in him, and maybe it was chasing after him during the Hail Murray that kind of made him fall in love and decide, you know what, I back this kid. If I can't stay in Houston and they're probably going to trade Deshaun, let me get out and go with my brother D-Hop and be on the right side of the Hail Murray.
I'm definitely on the side of I like when a guy goes somewhere because he wants to win and he wants to do well. And never mind.
Speaking of a guy that went somewhere to win.
What's up, guys? How you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, Chef.
Doing fantastic, Chef. It is Wednesday.
I searched far and wide. And this is the one Wi-Fi spot in Florida. Really, like seriously. At least the free one, anyway.
In the entire state.
They're having too much
What's
fun
up,
to be on the internet.
How's everybody doing tonight? I'm cracking open a beer. I rushed out of the job early tonight so I can share a beer with you guys just real fast. I'm doing some restaurant recon down here in Port St. Lucie, Florida, for those of you that don't know. And you guys are breaking out a little bit, so this interchange is not going to last. I know this for a fact. But if you guys can still hear me, let's ride with it. Let's rock with it. You guys are coming in and out. But I'm here for some fun, man. And I think, can we start off with the breaking news?
Go for it. Hit them with the breaking news.
Because I am the resident Giants fan of this tripod of the Tilt Squad.
You are.
Golden Tate has just officially been released by the New York Giants.
Indeed.
No, okay. So what this does is this opens up the playing field for the 2021 fantasy draft. For fantasy drafts in particular, there may be another stud coming to Big Blue, and this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge. I love it for the Giants. It was about time. He was old. He was banged up. End of contract. They release him into free agency. Sayonara, Golden Tate. You did enough for us. Appreciate you. It's time to move on.
So, do you think that are you thinking the Big Blue might go wide receiver with one of their earlier draft picks to kind of fill that spot? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Gettleman. I mean, take your pick. I don't remember where we are on the draft board per se. Juan, do you have that information in front of you? Because I know I can't look it up on the internet right now.
I don't know exactly where you guys pick, Chef, but I believe
I think we're like 18th. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds like about right. I mean, you can have your pick around there if that's where you're going to fill the spots. Then
it's 11.
Oh, 11.
Oh, it is 11. Oh, okay. So I was way off.
Oh, so yeah, we have a widespread options available there. So I think I'm really hoping for Devontae Smith to go to the Giants. I really think we could do it. I don't know if he falls that far, but we'll see.
If he doesn't, fellow wide receiver from Alabama, Jalen Waddle, that might be an option. That may be a field stretcher.
Okay.
People are amping up Kadarius Toney as somebody who should be going that high. So maybe you guys trade down. Maybe Kyle Pitts, the weapon, falls to you, and you finally move on for Evan Ingram. So there's a lot of different ways.
Pitts. We're going to talk about him. Yeah.
I don't know if Kyle Pitts actually makes it that far down.
I don't think he will. There's no way he will. Kyle Pitts is going, man.
But you can say the same about Devontae Smith, too. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see leading up to that. And I'm glad we're talking about a tight end and we're talking about some rookies here as we move along through, the offseason, which feels like an offseason, but it's really never an offseason. There's always something going on.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right, so we're just getting into the news here. Chef, we just broke into the weekly reel. We talked about J.J. Watt going to Arizona.
Yeah, the big boy going to Arizona.
Big boy going to Arizona. We were talking about how whether or not, J.J. Watt's going there because he believes in Kyler Murray and he believes that he can win there, or whether it's a monetary thing. Personally, from what I've heard from J.J. Watt and just the character that you kind of get from J.J. Watt as a player and as a teammate, I feel like he really, truly wants to be a part of a winning team, be right. And that's kind of where I feel like that's why he's going there. That's why he's going there.
I mean, I would think so. Originally, the Texans just love to get rid of players and watch them go to Arizona. I mean, we can. That's the whole thing. Like, hey, we had good players. Why don't you go to play in Arizona and let Arizona be the better team? Houston. They're clearing salary for some reason or another. I think they don't really have too much draft capital, so I have no idea what's going on in Houston with the Texans organization. You can look at them as a bottom feeder, not making the playoffs for a couple of years unless they make some really good moves. I think they just give David Johnson an extension. I think I just saw that this week. I think it was yesterday. They gave him a 1-year extension, changed his money up a little bit.
That's to spread the money out, yeah.
Yeah, $4.3 million guaranteed, up to $6 million at a deal. So that's something that is interesting. So they're gonna keep him around. They're not gonna let him go anywhere. But yeah, JJ Watt. I mean, come on, man.
I just thought there was an appeal to going to Cleveland or going to Buffalo, who were in better situations to win, like in better win now places. And Buffalo really needed him, and it would have been easy to play in Cleveland and not face double teams like him and Myles Garrett on opposite sides or right next to each other. Good luck blocking that. So I thought that maybe he would go in that direction. But going to Arizona, I mean, it shows that he wants to stay down in the Southwest maybe, and then I don't know. The money was right also because, I mean, 15.5 a year is close to the 17.5 that he wanted. So
I think it's a win. I think it's definitely a win across the board. Win for the money part of it for Watt, and then a win for Arizona, who struggled sometimes rushing the quarterback. And you look at the division that they play in. They're playing up against Seattle twice a year. They're playing up against the 49ers twice a year. They need to stop that run game offense. Same thing with the LA Rams. They're going to be playing them twice a year as well. So it's a running division, and they need to stop. They need to hit the quarterback and stop the run. That's exactly what he'll help them do.
And not for nothing, he's a veteran, man. He knows what he's talking about. He can coach up other guys. Like, there's so much more that comes with JJ Watt going somewhere than just the player itself in the position.
And he's also playing next to Chandler Jones, who's sneaky as a double-digit sack guy every year, above 15 sacks, 2 years ago. And then Isaiah Simmons, he could help nurture him and bring him along. Budda Baker, like, that's a pretty good defense they're trying to build. So maybe he does help the culture there.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of places that are flipping cultures, the Jets have obviously new management in place with Robert Saleh taking place, but still the same general manager, Joe Douglas, who says that the Jets will answer teams if they get a call about Sam Darnold. He's quoted as saying, "Our stance on Sam hasn't changed." So Jets general manager Joe Douglas said that on Wednesday, and he went on to say that he's an extremely talented player and he's very smart, very tough, and they have no doubt that Sam is going to achieve his outstanding potential. Obviously, we're in the process of gaining as much information as we can leading up to free agency and the draft, but our stance on Sam has not changed. I feel like that's a lot of GM speak, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a call me, but I really like him. I'm not going to trade him to you, but if the price is right, like kind of not trying to tip their hand that they're going after Watson or what they want to do, or they're going Fields at 102.
I think they're going to go. I think they're going to make a move in the draft. If they can't sell Darnold, they're going to make a move in the draft, and they're going to have a quarterback competition in the preseason. That's what I think they're going to do.
Which is tough, man, because Sam Darnold is such a talented quarterback, and he was under Adam Gase for so long, and it really hinders the ability of players. Doesn't matter if it's quarterback, just players in general. I would love to see Sam Darnold do well somewhere else, and then them drafting a quarterback just creates a rift, and then it just makes things just tougher for the Jets organization to begin with, which is already kind of a tough place to be in.
Right, 100%.
I like the talent of Sam Darnold, and he's still younger than Joe Burrow.
He's so young. How stupid is that? He's so young. You forget that he's so young because you've heard about certain. It's unbelievable how young he is. It's crazy.
He's been in the league for 4 years, and he's still 19 years old.
He's still getting mono. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
They were scouting him in after-school activities. But yeah, go ahead, Juan.
My theory would be you have plenty of cap space, right? So you already drafted Mekhi Becton. You draft Penei Sewell with the number 2 pick. Don't even think about it. And then go after the Patriots, Joe Thuney, the left guard, who's a free agent. And now you suddenly have a nice offensive line to be able to protect this young man. and you already gave him a weapon in Denzel Mims last year. You can get somebody at the number 25 overall pick, get him another weapon on the outside. And I think they can flirt, or maybe a running back like Najee Harris slides that far, or Etienne, who's NFL ready. Like that offense can get flipped rather quickly if they're just patient a little bit and have a little faith in Sam Darnold, who I just heard the other day, and Mina Kimes and Mel Kiper and a bunch of other people who said they would have him as the number 2 quarterback if he was coming out of this draft. And at 23 years old, he could technically be one of those rookies. He's only a year older than Zach Wilson. So what's to say he's not the second most talented player in this draft behind Trevor Lawrence? So why would you do anything other than keep him?
It's a great point. It's a great point. And as things get closer, things are changing, man. Things are getting crazy. Who knows what's going to happen? This is all speculation.
Indeed.
One of those things that we're speaking of, that who knows what's going to happen as we approach free agency. Many of these topics are going to become clearer. And in Chicago, one of the top wide receivers, his free agent status is coming into question, isn't it, Juan?
Indeed. And we love Allen Robinson, and you don't know whether he's going to stay or go. And the chef I know loves Allen Robinson as well. And it's been tough to decipher whether or not they're going to tag him or whether he's going to go anywhere. But it feels like Ryan Pace, he told the media that there's no firm decision that has been made yet regarding Robinson. So they're still weighing their options, and whether it's via free agency or transition tag or the long-term deal Robinson has long wanted, Pace seemed to be leaning to A-Rob's future being in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
I think they make the move in Chicago, and I think they transition tag him, man. I don't think they let him go. I just don't let him. I just don't think they let him walk without getting anything for him. So they're going to use the transition tag, possibly trade him before the season starts to get top dollar for him after all the dust settles around the league with free agency. They don't want him just to walk, and that would be dumb of them to do so.
It would. He's an elite level talent, and if they're going to build around an offense and you need to have one of those top notch wide receivers. So it makes sense for them to want to keep him.
Off the top of your heads, where could you see Allen Robinson going? Right off the bat.
Miami.
I was going to say Miami.
I like Baltimore. I like the Jets. I like Philly.
I was going to say the Jets too. Yeah.
I like Philly. I like Philly as a landing spot as well.
Say Philly.
Just to play, put it into perspective. What about the Giants?
Why not? That makes sense too. Gives them a true number.
We don't have an alpha. We don't have an alpha dog in our core. So I think with the news of Golden Tate just hours, not even an hour ago, being released, I think they're opening up some cap space, and I think they're going to make some moves in free agency. I really do. I think they're ready. They're jumping at the bit, and I think they're going to go out and make some offers this offseason, and Allen Robinson could be one of them.
He fits on the Washington football team if they figure out their quarterback situation. He fits basically anywhere in the NFC East outside of the Cowboys, who are already loaded with wide receiver talent. But anybody else there makes sense. The Jets and the Dolphins make sense. If you have a little bit of money, Baltimore makes a lot of sense. Like you can give somebody that's a ball winner for Lamar Jackson to be able to throw the ball and get some wins on the outside and not just rely on Marquise Hollywood Brown and his speed and all that. So I would like to see him there.
I would too, and that would actually help. I think that would help Hollywood. That would help his stock.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, right. And
so what we're doing here is speculating, Mr. Swanson and
that's
Chef.
What we're doing.
But if you want some real help in breaking down the coach speak, join us on March 15th at 6:30 for the Free Agent Frenzy special on the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football podcast. We're going to have fantasy pros and football guys writer Dave Kluge, who's going to join us to break down. Right, and that's the day that all the news kicks off. That's the Ides of March. It's the first day of free agency, and I can't wait for that episode because that's when we start to see exactly where these guys are going. Where's Kenny Golladay? Where's Aaron Jones? What's going to start to happen? We're going to get to see it that day live.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a frenzy.
It is exactly a free agent frenzy. And we're already seeing the beginnings of it, guys. Like this is just a starting period. The chef jumped on live from a lobby somewhere. And
I am actually chilling by the pool.
You look like you're by the pool.
Very nice.
Chilling by the pool.
Sitting by the pool.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a North Face. You know what I mean? It's not cold up here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my bikini mama to walk out. No. If my wife is watching this, God help me that I just said
Allie, he was joking.
Just joking.
She knows you're joking.
Hashtag joking.
She's seen vacation.
So you guys, so now everything's starting to happen. You saw Golden Tate already get released. JJ Watt is signing. We're seeing the breaking news. And another guy that got released was longtime tight end Kyle Rudolph, who got released by the Minnesota Vikings. So he's a mainstay. That this guy's 31 years old right now, but he finally missed a game after not missing any since 2014. And he only played 12 games last season. And it feels like it's time to move on. He's 31 now, and he's going to be free to sign with another team in 2021. And he's coming off a down year, but he did finish as number 7 in 2018 and number 14 in 2019.
I think with Irv Smith there, coming up through the ranks, doing enough last season, and with Kyle Rudolph being injured, he had the opportunity to do what he needed to do to shine in that offense enough to say, okay, it's time for Kyle to kick the bucket. Kyle being 31 years old, Mr. Rudolph, not the reindeer, he commanded a lot of money. He's been in the league for a long time, and he just wasn't worth the squeeze anymore. He really wasn't. So wherever he winds up going, I'm sure he'll get picked up by a squad, be a journeyman, possibly for a year. Maybe Seattle is a nice spot as a journeyman. Greg Olson's probably leaving there. Where else do you think we could see him go? He could wind up,
Philadelphia is the number possibly 2, the blocker.
Maybe he goes on a 1-year deal to Buffalo, and they give him a little bit of experience. They are in need. That's not really their style to go out and pay an older player. But we'll see what happens. And I think he has a little bit left in the tank. But as far as fantasy purposes, I'm staying away from Kyle Rudolph this season.
And I think it's okay to stay away from Kyle Rudolph this season, because if you look at what we're about to get into with the top 12 tight ends, it gets really similar between tight end 8 and tight end 16. So there's a lot of depth in tight end going forward this year in redraft. And if you have, if you're a dynasty, there's players you could trade for and players you can lift. So yeah, I agree. I think Kyle Rudolph's kind of on the back 9 of my radar when it comes to tight ends.
What's interesting, if you take the points per game of Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith, that's the tight end 4. So like the Vikings do like to use the tight end, and I love Irv Smith as somebody going forward this year with Kyle Rudolph out of the way per se, and him having the entire workload. If he plays all 16 games, which is also another contributing factor, all these tight ends that finished at the top, a lot of them was because they just played 16 games and kind of grinded it out and made their way in there. They weren't like elite level performers. They were just available. So availability is huge.
Absolutely, especially at this position. All right, boys, I think that just about does it for the news, right? I think so. I think it's time to you guys want to tilt into the
let's
top 12 tight ends for 2020?
I don't have too much time left. Let's go. Let's do it. I'll help you out a little bit, and then I got to bounce.
Let's do it.
Me and my bro, yeah, we been around the map. Did a couple laps and we got a few plaques. Tell them no way when they telling me relax. Tell them no way when they letting off the gas. Ain't no way I could ever be last. Forget who the greatest, I'm greatest right now. Biggest in city and biggest in town. I ain't just messing around. I was that kid in that crowd. Now I'm on the stage or the ground, and they all singing out loud. And I'm on 10 right now, and I'm in my zone right now. Wait, hitting my phone right now. I gotta go right now. I got.
Yeah. I was hoping to catch the chef dancing.
Nope.
I like that track.
For a little bit. Nope.
I am definitely not dancing.
Usually it's me that's dancing. What's wrong? Bopping to the music?
I was bouncing a little bit. I
know, but I couldn't cut it off that early because you were bouncing for a second. You knew it was going to go longer. All right, so here we go. Tilt Squad. We are going to tilt into the top 12 tight ends of 2020, and we're going to lead it off with number 1. It's no secret. It's Travis Kelce. Let's go. Travis Kelce finishes every year. This is the 6th year in a row, I believe, or 5th.
5th, I think.
5th. That's incredible. And he finishes with, in PPR scoring, 312.8 fantasy points. He's a wide receiver, and he's 34 fantasy points ahead of the number 2. Now, here's the thing. what I think about is age, right? It's something that you consider, because what else is there to say about Travis Kelce? The man is a universal talent. He's unbelievable. He's 31 years old. He's the same age as Kyle Rudolph. He's obviously hella talented, hyper talented, more talented than Kyle Rudolph is. Does he slow down? Does he not slow down? How do you look at this going forward?
I want to take him off the throne every year. Every year I want the new shiny toy. I want to try to replace him with Kittle. I want to replace him with Waller, the baller, every year. But dude only played 15 games. And like you said, he had 312 points. Yo, that's the wide receiver 4.
Yeah,
like,
right?
He's a tight end. He was the wide receiver 4 and in only 15 games. So even if he were to slow down a little bit, like Mahomes is not slowing down, they're going to be on the revenge tour this year. I feel like they're just going to be trying to rub it in everyone's face that they lost, and they're going to come back with a vengeance. And I feel like I want to every year. I want to replace him. I want to put Kittle there. I want to put Waller there, but I can't. Kelce's the one.
Kelce's the one. 11 touchdowns. That sells it too, man.
That helps.
That's a chunk. And the thing is that age be damned, whatever you say, Mahomes looks for him. He looks for him all the time.
Bro, he had 105 catches on 145 targets. He had 1,416 yards receiving, bro.
That's 13.5 yards per catch. That is a fantasy football monster.
Yeah. He's worth every bit of late first, early second round pick that you take next year. Go ahead, take your flyer. If you want to lock up the position and get it somebody elite, it's Kelce.
I was going to say. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way to go. It's a surefire thing. In redraft, definitely I'm going after Kelce. There's not much to say. He's the 101 when it comes to tight end. And, I'd put him up there in the top 12 players that you could draft for your fantasy team that would help you win your league. If you draft someone like Travis Kelce, and then you don't have to worry about that position, 15 weeks out of the season. And we mentioned, the 1,416 yards and the 11 touchdowns, and number 2 behind him, Darren Waller, not too far behind, a little bit younger and in the same kind of position, with being able to stretch the field and be a red zone target, red zone threat. And he's on the field all the time. So those are the top 2, I would say. Darren Waller and Travis Kelce, they're slam dunks when it comes to the tight ends. Yeah,
it's crazy, neck and neck. They had the same amount of targets, 145 total targets, and Darren Waller actually caught 2 more than Kelce did, 107 to Kelce's 105. So going forward, you like you said, Chef, Darren Waller's a little younger. He's got some probably a little more gas in the tank, and he's definitely that viable tight end to spend that early draft pick on going forward. Hey.
Hi, Luz. Say hi.
Hey, Luz.
Daddy.
She's telling you guys to remember George Kittle. And let's not forget, because he only played 8 games this year, that he's going to be right back in that conversation. 19, and he had 15.6 points per game. Like he's still George Kittle. He's still a monster. And you can still expect him to be in that conversation for 1, 2, or 3. And outside of these 3 guys, then after that, the drop-off is absolutely huge.
It is crazy, Juan, the drop-off. I'm glad you mentioned that. If we're okay to move on from Waller to our next guy at number 3.
Hey, well, before you guys move on, I'm gonna hop off here. I gotta bounce. Thanks for letting me chill real fast. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Chef, do your thing, man. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, man. I'll try to get with you guys during the week, and maybe I can jump on the next pod as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're awesome, Chef.
Yeah, Chef, we love you, man. We couldn't do this without you.
Get home soon.
For sure.
Be safe. Have fun. Peace.
Yeah, Mr. Chef.
Man.
Right?
I feel like where's the pool? And I gotta fill a tub behind me or something. I feel Chef's down in Florida. He's got nice weather. He's got a pool down there.
Yeah. Hey man, he's enjoying himself. I hope he gets out on the course and gets to play a little golf in that beautiful weather while he's down in Florida.
I hope so, because I played some golf this morning, and not playing golf for 3 months, I don't know how you expect to do anything else other than horrible. I had a great day. It was beautiful out.
But it was cold a little bit early, huh?
I'll tell you what, it was cold early. I layered up because I know we were going to this. I asked you about it, and
too cold for me.
Dude, I almost said the same thing, but I bit the bullet. I was like, all right, I'll go. And it was cold. I was wearing a snowboard mask my snowboard goggles. Like
Oh, you were serious.
I was trying to stay warm, and it was good until I was fine. About like the 6th hole, it warmed up, and the breeze wasn't even a factor anymore. It was okay. What wasn't okay was my golf game. But
it's the fun part is being out there.
The fun part is being out there. It's just nice to be out there. It's nice to finish, 3rd out of the 3 guys that you're playing with. Even though I played with 2, I probably finished with 3rd. So that being said,
I feel like these guys are those 3 are out there by themselves. They don't have a 4th. Nobody's coming to join them. It's just those 3 and then everybody else.
Well, with the tight ends here, I almost feel like it's just 2 because if you look at our number 3 right here, Robert Sunyan. Robert Sunyan finished 98 fantasy points away from Darren Waller. So the difference between the tight end 1 and 2 in PPR scoring is 98 fantasy points.
It's 6.4 points per game. Like that's a pretty precipitous drop. Like, you know what I mean? That's a win. And you lost a lot of games this year by less than 6 points in fantasy.
That is it is. That's a significant drop off. It is. And the thing is that with Tony, he had that big game. What do you have? 3 touchdowns that one big game?
Yeah.
Right.
It was a 3 touchdown game.
So that puts it up because he ties our top 12 tight ends. He ties Travis Kelce with 11 touchdowns. That's the highest that we have in the top 12. And he did it on 59 targets.
Incredible usage, like incredible efficiency on the usage, on very low usage, yeah.
And he caught 52 of those, so he only missed 7 of his 59 targets. 59 from 52 for 586 and 11 touchdowns. So here's the thing. That's a super strong ratio for a tight end at the top 12, and he finishes at number 3. Do you see something like that repeating for Robert Tonyan? Maybe not exactly this, but something strong to be where you would target Robert Tonyan maybe after Darren Waller or Travis Kelce and Darren Waller are off the board. Well, let's say next year, Kelce, Waller, Kittle are off the board next year. Is Robert Tonyan your 4?
No, just simply because the 2 guys right below him on the ranking between Logan Thomas and TJ Hawkinson, both of them had 100 targets or more. So they're guys that are going to see a lot more usage. And if you look way down the list, they're guys like Hayden Hurst and Dalton Schultz and Hunter Henry, who had in the high 80s or low 90s as far as targets. So these are guys that are going to get a lot more looks and get a lot more usage. And I'm going to trust that they're going to be able to capitalize on that more so than Tonyan, who was just really, really efficient. Similar to Mark Andrews, who last year was number 5, even though he didn't have too many targets and only caught under 60 balls, he was just found the end zone. And that's the common thread is like the guys that find the end zone 11, 9, 11, like those guys are all in the top 10 at all times. Like those guys that hit double digits or close to it, they always end up at the top of this list.
There is one, and you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you said that. There is one outlier that we'll definitely mention who had a dramatic drop when it comes to touchdowns in this top 12, and we'll talk about him.
He went away.
But if you look at Robert Sunyan and Logan Thomas, who is our number 4, they both finished with 176.6 fantasy points in PPR scoring.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
The exact same amount of points. Yeah.
The exact same amount of points and almost just a little less than double the targets.
But Sunyan had almost double the touchdowns. Even though Logan Thomas had 72 catches, Sunyan had almost double the touchdowns and 11-6 advantage. So that's going to make him, it's going to catapult him to be even though in reality you should take Logan Thomas ahead of Robert Tonyan every single time.
100%. And I'll supplement that by telling you why. So Thomas during the season, he was a big waiver ad. Right after the bye, he only failed to reach double digits twice over those 9 games. And here's the stat that I love the most, and this is why you should absolutely take Logan Thomas over Robert Tonyan, despite it maybe looking shinier. He finished top 10 among tight ends in the following categories: snap share, slot snaps, routes run, route participation, receptions, deep targets, air yards, red zone targets, and yards after catch. All in the top 10. First, third, fourth, third, sixth, 7th. You get what I'm saying? The guy.
Wow.
Yes. First in snap share, first in slot snaps, first in routes run, first in route participation, third in receptions, fourth in deep targets, third in targets, sixth in air yards, sixth in red zone targets, and seventh in yards after catch.
I love that.
Come on. Right?
So you definitely have to take him. Now the conversation begins where that second tier, when you waited a little longer, he belongs at the top of a list that has Hawkinson and Andrews and Gesicki and the guys that have good amount of usage as far as targets.
True.
All of them had 80 or more targets. And you want to see that little group and you want to see the separation. He came out of nowhere, Mr. Swanson. He was number 71 2 years ago, number 50 last year. Before
was he
taking,
really 50
he
last
was
year?
number 71 and then number 50. And you see this kind of thing where like Waller was 79 and then he jumped to number 3 and then he's number 2 and then suddenly he's a mainstay in the top 5. And I think the same thing might be happening for Logan Thomas, at least for this year coming up. If they don't do anything at the tight end position in Washington, he's going to get that same kind of target share and that opportunity. Yeah. It's the old Greg Olsen opportunity in the North Turner offense now with Scott Turner under Ron Rivera in Washington. So I feel like he's Greg Olsen as far as usage. So he's a mainstay, and I like for him to stay. I like Tunyon to be the one that bounces out of the top, at least that top 5 range.
Yeah, out of the top 5 range for sure. But how do you feel? So speaking of number 5, we'll roll right into our number 5, Mr. TJ Hawkinson.
You gotta love him.
You gotta love him, right?
Right. Yeah.
Caught 67 of his 101 targets for 723 yards and 6 touchdowns. Anthony Lynn has a penchant for using tight ends, man.
So everyone that's there, Dan Campbell was a tight end. And Jared Cook has been a top end tight end the last 2 years. The last 2 years before this last one, he was number 5 and number 7. Jared Cook in the New Orleans system. Hunter Henry has also been in the top 10. He was number 9 and number 12 under Anthony Lynn. Zach Ertz has been a top 5 tight end, and then Dallas Goedert has been involved in the mix at number 10 last year as well under Deuce Staley. So everyone in that offensive room loves the tight end. And if you all love the tight end and you have a guy that's already number 5 and jumped from 31 his rookie year to number 5 this year, like he's a smash for me to be in the top 5. Like he might round it out. I might even want to take him at number 4 on that list and pay up a little more and take the upside from him over Logan Thomas. And then Jared Goff loved Tyler Higbee. Like we forget about Tyler Higbee and nobody mentions him, but he was number 8 last year.
Right? That's a great point. And Goff's, out of all of his passes to tight ends, he's completed 316 passes to tight ends. 109 of them have been to tight ends in the last 2 seasons. 194 of them in the last 2 seasons have been at the tight end position. So, yeah, Jared Goff loves this tight end. And with he is. And with Galladay's return to the Lions, like unknown, like, you know, what's going on, Hawkinson suddenly becomes the most intriguing passing option next to DeAndre Swift. He's another
guy, Mr. Swanson. He had 6 touchdowns. So, like, if he gets 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, now he's up over 200 fantasy points, and he's a lock to be the number 4, at least, out of that list.
Exactly. This is the guy that's going to repeat. He's definitely going to be in this same sort of area next year when we're talking about this.
4 through 7, you know what I mean? Somewhere in there, and has one upside. That's what I like about the next group of guys here is that you can draft them as the 4th or the 5th guy off the board with the potential for them to be the number 1 and take that leap and go forward and be the number 2 at least, you know, behind Kelsey.
So how do you feel about our number 6 here, Mark Andrews? 58, caught 58 out of his 88 for 701 yards for 7 touchdowns. How do you feel?
Well, he was number 5 in 2019, and then he was number 6. He's another one that took a jump, but right out of the gate, his rookie year, he was number 17. So I think he has a safe floor. I think he's a guy that, you know, Lamar Jackson likes to target. And if they do add, like we were talking about with the news, an Allen Robinson or Juju or any kind of weapon to take some of the attention away, I think he and Hollywood Brown can see an increase in efficiency because he's seeing the targets. He's just not bringing in the catches. 88 targets, 58 catches. There's a separation there. Something needs to be worked out where that's a lot cleaner and it looks more like Tunyon, 52 out of 59, where it gets a little bit more efficient.
I would love to see that. It's tough because it's a team that favors running the ball.
Yep.
And you don't really see that as much in Green Bay because you have a clear-cut pass catcher – or, a clear-cut quarterback, pass thrower who doesn't really – he doesn't have the legs. He's Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? You have bye.
She's insistent on interrupting.
No, I love it.
Don't pick your nose on TV.
I think she said that despite Lamar Jackson's ability to run the ball and their penchant to running the ball, Mark Andrews is still a top 10 tight end for next year. And Lucy, I appreciate that.
She did. And you know what? Like, come hell or high water, he will be in the top 10. And, there's guys like that are going to be in the top 10 no matter what. And then I feel like the last one in that tier, well, there's two more in that tier. But the next guy, Gesicki at number 7, 159.3 fantasy points. Like, that's about 10 a game. That's where you want to be, like where you want guys to kind of hover and give you that nice little floor. And I think the growth with Tua and the offense getting better and his athleticism coming out of Penn State, he's a really athletic tight end. So I think he's going to be okay. And I think he'll see an uptick from that 85 targets that he had this year and 703 yards. I think he'll get a little more than that. And again, middle of the road touchdown, 6, you take that up in a more efficient offense to 8 or 9, and he can push for top 5 too.
I agree with everything you just said. The guy's hyper athletic, a little inconsistent right now, but it's just gonna grow. It's gonna get better. We finished second in contested catches this year to Waller with 17 to Waller's 19. The guy's got talent. He's super athletic. Apparently he's from around here too. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. He's a local boy. I know he went to Penn State.
He goes to one of my friends who used to work at the Chegg, the chicken or the egg, on Long Beach Island. He's a frequent, during the off season. He goes to the Chegg. That's neither here nor there. So my question for Mike Gesicki is, from what I got from his production this year was primarily when Preston Williams was hurt. You think that has anything to do with where he finished at 7? Plus he had the dislocated shoulder.
Nah, because he's shown growth. Like, what I feel is like he was number 51, then he was number 12, and now he was number 7, despite the injuries, despite the young quarterback, the questions at quarterback, whether it was Fitzpatrick or whether it was Tua, because he didn't do great under Tua except for one of the games that he played. So it was more about Fitzpatrick. So they're going to have to find a little bit of the chemistry. So when our preseason rankings come out, he won't be my number 7. Like, I might have him dropped a little bit lower, and I'm going to have him replaced by a guy that we're going to talk about in a couple positions here. But I just feel like there's other guys with a little bit more upside and a little more continuity at quarterback, or maybe just better players in general that saw a bit of a bad break and are going to be involved in their offense. Plus, we have rookies coming in, and Kyle Pitts might be one of those rare top 12 right out of the gate rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, dude, he might be one of those.
Or tight ends, sorry.
Well, I mean, a lot of these tight ends finish as wide receivers. They finish with wide receiver numbers, so he might be one of those guys. The guy that we're about to talk about right now at number 8 really interests me. Right? He finishes at number 8. Noah Fant. Noah Fant finishes at number 8, catching 62 of his 93 targets.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I had Gronk at number 8. Oh,
am I backwards here?
Because they tied exactly 149.3 fantasy points, right, for the year.
They did. Yep.
Right.
With 3, so he did that with 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
This is the only guy in this top 12. He is the lowest with touchdowns with 3 touchdowns. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's the only guy in the top 10 without 6. Like, he had half the amount of touchdowns that all these other guys had, and he did it on 93 targets. So, like, the dude can ball. Like, and I think he's my guy. He's my jump the line guy. He can jump over Andrews and he can jump over Gesicki and end up flirting with that top 5.
And in real life, he could probably run and jump over both of those guys because the dude ran a 4.5. He ran a 4.50, which is crazy for a tight end. Jude, what do you, if you had it off the top of your head, what do you think Juju ran?
4.53.
Wow, that's incredibly close. 4.54. Jerry Jeudy.
4.49.
That's incredibly close too. 4.45. Noah Fant is faster, just about around that same time. He's a tight end. He's running. He's got wide receiver speed. His ability to create mismatches because of his speed and his ability to catch the ball is why, like you're saying, that's your guy. Like, that's a guy I would reach for because the talent is unbelievable.
Yeah, him and Hawkinson, I can expect. If we're looking at jumps, he jumped from 16 to 9. You saw Andrews jump from 17 to 5 and then 6 this year. Hawkinson 31 to 5. Like, you can expect a leap from some of these guys, and I feel like Noah Fant gives you an opportunity to make a leap next year, and he could be elite. It's going to depend on the quarterback play, but he should be rather cheap you won't have to pay Andrews Hawkinson money for him. And you might have guys that just saw Sunyan. Oh, yeah, Sunyan, and it's a name and it's good. And you might take him, let him take Sunyan, and you go ahead and grab Noah Fant. And I think he's got more upside than any of these guys that are on this list.
I agree. He finished 6th in the league in targets, 6th in the league in yards, 7th in the league in receptions, 3rd in yards after the catch. Just like I said, trailing only Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. And here's a notable thing too. This is just a fun fact. For rookie tight ends, going back to 2019, rookie tight ends. Start with Fant. Fant caught 40 passes for 562 yards. Gronkowski caught 42 for 546. Jimmy Graham, 31 for 557. Greg Olsen, 39 for 391. And George Kittle, 43 for 515. He's in that conversation. He's an elite talent. There's a big year coming. Noah Fant is going to be money going forward.
Indeed. And another guy that we'll talk about as far as age and being surprised at their age, Kyle Rudolph, Travis Kelce, and Gronk are all the same age. Like they seem like they're all in 3 different. 31? Yeah, it feels like they're all in different eras of their life, and they're all the same age. It's just that he's been banged up so much that you think crazy. That he's like 35. You think he's Jimmy Graham. You know what I mean? You think he's Greg Olsen at 33 or 34. Like, no, like the dude's still
31.
Yeah, so
that's wild. Okay.
At 31, he did find the end zone 7 times. So there's a reason he tied Noah Fant, because he really didn't get the usage, and I don't trust it going forward this year. But he's a name, and his name is Gronk, and he's probably going to get drafted in that front 7 or 8 tight ends. So he's another one that I like. Let Sunyan, let Gronk, let them all get drafted and land yourself Noah Fant going into this year. And another guy that I really like is number 10, and that's Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, me too.
These guys that make these jumps, Mr. Swanson, like it's really not a coincidence when you see it happen one year to the next. And Hayden Hurst went from 34 to number 10, and he's the sole guy in Atlanta now. And maybe Julio moves on, and I feel like he could be one of those guys right there where he stays right where he is at number 10 next year. I
think it's all about Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith loves multiple tight end sets. 30%, 38% of the Titans play calls when he was with the Titans came out of the formation with at least 2 tight ends. 33% of those was a 2 tight end set, and 5% was 3, but who cares? But that's not the only reason that Hayden Hurst is going to do well in Smith's system. Smith made it happen with Ferkser, who was a legit tight end too behind Jonnu Smith. Among all the other tight ends, Ferkser had a 73.6 catch percentage, which was the best, I believe that was this year, or was it last year? I don't have it right in front of me. He was their 4th leading receiver. Ferkser was their 4th leading receiver in 2020 with 39 catches for 387 yards, and that led him to be 23rd among all NFL tight ends in receptions and 26th in yards. Smith's helped revive Delaney Walker's career. He's developed Jonnu Smith into a Pro Bowl role caliber tight end. Arthur Smith really is gonna do it well, and I think Hayden Hurst is gonna thrive.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you mentioned that about Ferkser, because Jonnu Smith had 41 catches, so combined that's like 80. So anyone who got 80 catches or more is in that top 5 conversation. So again, a guy that's lower in Hurst but might have upside to be able to finish in that top 5. So those are the guys that I want to target in this range, and I want to be able to take a flyer on. And I'm waiting on tight end all day, because you were able to get such good value from all these guys that are down here at the bottom of this list.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of value, we're moving on to this is one that could go either way for me, because we're going to number 11, Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
So Jarwin goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott goes down. Schultz finishes with 63 catches on 89 targets for 615 yards and 4 touchdowns, finishes at tight end 11. Do you see him cracking the top 12 next year with Jarwin coming back?
If Jarwin comes back, you're not going to be able to sustain it, and you might see a split similar to Jonnu and Ferkser,
right?
That we mentioned. But were he to get everything alone, listen, no, that goes down. You're playing with Ben DiNucci, you're playing with Andy Dalton, you're playing behind a line that's completely banged up. He had to stay in and block. Your receiving core is loaded. Zeke saw an uptick in targets. There's a bunch of different factors as to why he shouldn't have finished where he did. But he's a nice streaming option. We're going to watch what happens with Blake Jarwin as to whether or not he goes. But he's another one of those prime candidates for me to drop out of this 12 so we can make room for a little bit of the new blood that's inevitably going to take the leap into the top 12. And he's going to get replaced by someone. Who that somebody is, it remains to be seen. He saw a massive leap. He was number 67, then number 113 last year before finally finishing number 11. But a guy that's been in the top 12, pretty consistently is Hunter Henry. And he finished right behind him. And he definitely leapfrogs him for me, especially if he stays with Justin Herbert or goes to a nice, tight end friendly landing spot. Like the Colts. Oh, well, Jacksonville too, because they're moving on from Tyler Eifert. But the
Colts would be great because Carson, oh my God, especially with Carson Wentz.
And
being able to throw to Hunter Henry. So I would love that. I actually hadn't considered that. So that's a really great point. On my end, what I was thinking, if the Jags decline the option to sign Eifert for this year, Hunter Henry is a great guy to look at. Jacksonville, they need a tight end. They're not going to be able to get Kyle Pitts. There's no way. I think they have the 25th over pick.
Yeah, they have number 1 and then number.
Number
1. Yeah, number 1 and number 32.
Number 1, yeah,
or 33, right. But yeah.
All right, so that would give Trevor Lawrence. Let's just say Trevor Lawrence a great committee to work with. Weapons all over the place. Hunter Henry, DJ Shark, Laviska Shenault, Colin Johnson. That's a great
and James Robinson in the backfield.
But I like what you said about the Colts. But I like what you said about the Colts too, because I could see Hunter Henry and Carson Wentz having that hookup.
Yeah, it might be cheaper for them to acquire Zach Ertz and find a way to finagle the money from Philly and all that and make that work. It might be easier that way than to have to pay Hunter Henry because he's going to demand money on the free agent market. I wouldn't be surprised if the New England Patriots or Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals, they're making a push. They really need a tight end, that would help, Kyler Murray immensely. So, again, tune in on Monday, the 15th, when the free agent frenzy begins. It's just going to be crazy. And between now and then, they're going to start cutting players, and players are going to be released, and the cap is shrinking. There's going to be cap casualties everywhere. The Dolphins are already dropping Kyle Van Noy. There's players being dropped left and right all over the league, and it's going to be absolutely bonkers what happens going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Pay attention because it's about to get crazy. It seems like it's kind of things are happening here and there, and it's a little stale right now, but at the same time, it's not because there's a fire. There's a fire brewing, and it's coming.
It is, and when there's smoke, there's fire. And you know what, Mr. Swanson? Like, out of all this, out of doing this exercise, the thing that I realized the most is that, like you said, anywhere from about number 7, which is like 10 points a game, down to number 21, Austin Hooper, who's at about 8.7 points per game, they're all kind of interchangeable. Like the point variance isn't that great.
Dude,
where you should
you're absolutely right. The tight ends 8 through 12 finished within 4 fantasy points of each other in PPR, and tight ends 8 through 16 finished within 9 fantasy points of each other in PPR.
So next year, I'm going for potential. I'm going with the lock at the top 3. We're going to go with Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, right? We're going to go with those two and George Kittle to rebound. So those are going to be your three guys. But then we're going to keep our eye on guys like with volume, like Logan Thomas. We're going to keep our eyes on TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Gesicki, and Noah Fant. But then after that, we're going to do what my man Mike Fiala said today, and I love him. And at Daddy's Home FF, if you don't follow him, you should. He's hilarious. But he actually said that these guys, it's better. You're better off either taking one of those top 3 elite guys, or then taking 2 flyers or 3 flyers very late in your draft and hoping one of them sticks. Number 22 this year was Irv Smith that just passed. He's going to have the uptick in volume. Mm-hmm. You probably can get him on the cheap. You can get Tyler Higbee with Matthew Stafford, who just helped Hawkinson, and you can get him on the cheap. He finished at number 17 this year. Dallas Goedert finished 20, but he was number 10 in 2019, and now there's no Ertz. So there's a bunch of guys where you can do it later in your draft and just grab 1 or 2 or 3 of them and hope one of them sticks. Stream them. Don't spend the draft capital. Mr. Swanson, after Hooper, though, from 22 down, none of them had 100 fantasy points, and none of them averaged 8 points per game. So you do have to grab a couple of those. Yeah, you got to grab a couple of those twos. You can't rely on I'm taking number 31 or I'm taking this guy or Harrison Bryant might be a flyer or this and that. Don't go crazy down that way. Look for the guys with upside like Cole Kmet, Adam Troutman if he replaces Jared Cook. Those young guys to take a leap. But other than that,
so let me ask you. let me ask you this: outside of our top 12, the other two, the crack 13 and 14, are Jimmy Graham and Eric Ebron, but number 15 is Evan Ingram. I could see Evan Ingram finishing within the top 12 next season with the comeback of Saquon and being able to establish the run and the hole. Everything changes when you have Saquon Barkley. I don't care what anybody says. Everything changes when you have a healthy Saquon Barkley. Everything changes when you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. It's not rocket science. It's just how it goes. Within that, I could see Evan Ingram got to move up. He has to.
Listen, Travis Kelce didn't catch passes or do anything until he was 25 years old. He didn't break out and become number one until he was 26. So Evan Ingram's 26 years old. He finished 15, he finished 18, he finished 13 in the last 3 years. So he's right there on the cusp. He only had one touchdown this year. He had 109 targets and one touchdown. So he had a case of the dropsies. The efficiency was down. There was inconsistent QB play from Daniel Jones. Again, like you said, the biggest factor, Saquon, the play calling, Jason Garrett. There's a bunch of different obstacles and excuses to be made as to why Evan Ingram did not succeed. But again, am I taking Eric Ebron or am I taking Jimmy Graham or Dalton Schultz or Hayden Hurst? Like I think I might take Evan Ingram over all those guys because he has the potential and the athletic profile that we talked about with Noah Fant to be elite and to make that jump and then become a perennial top 5 guy. And now his value is dropping so much that he's definitely affordable. You don't have to reach for him in the 5th or 6th round. You can take him in the 8th or 9th and take him and Goddard or him and Irv Smith, him and Kmet, him and Troutman, and maybe you find something.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All right.
We tilted through the tight ends, Mr.
Swan. I did it. Yeah, we got it. We got to the top 12, man. I can't wait to see where all of these guys end up next year because we've gotten through the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. I can't wait to see where they finish next year. All the moves that are going to make, everything that's going to shake out, all the rookies coming in. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a great season.
We're going to be here for it. And Mr. Swanson, Jonnu Smith, free agent, goes to Buffalo, goes to Arizona. Doesn't he take a huge jump in your rankings immediately?
Oh, my God.
You know what I mean?
Oh, my goodness, especially if he goes to Buffalo.
Right. So there's so much that's going to happen in the coming weeks, and we're going to be here for it, for all of it with you. And don't forget, we still have spots open in the Dynasty League, the Dynasty Listener League for the Tilt is Real. Hit us up on any of our social media, and you'll be able to join in the league and have a lot of fun tilting into Dynasty with us. And that about wraps it up, Mr. Swanson.
Yeah, that wraps it up. I'm going to start signing off here. You can find me on Twitter at FFJawn, JAWN Swanson. Send me a message if you need some sort of intro music or drop music for your podcast or your commercial or whatever it is. I'd be happy to help. Justin. What's good? Man. Yeah. What's up, man? I was wondering where you were.
We didn't mention Chris Herndon today, but I should have as a sleeper, as somebody who might get their career back on track. I like his athletic profile, so I think he'll be all right.
100%. Justin's another one of those guys that we would, love to have in the Dynasty. Is he already in?
I think he's already in the Dynasty League.
Justin,
I think the chef said that Justin's already in the league.
All right, cool. He had a ticket in the second he joined the show, man. Like my man Justin knows what he's talking about. Justin, happy to have you. Happy to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that's all I got, man. Juan?
Yeah, shout out to the chef who's down in Port St. Lucie handling his business. He's having a little fun down there. And thank you for coming in, Chef. The chef has his rankings up on the tiltisreal.com. He writes for Ball Blast. He's doing the trivia game on Thursday nights with Nate Povok. They're doing the trivia at Fantasy Intervention. You can go to fantasyintervention.com or /YouTube and follow that. Or you can go to @joinourcircle_ to find out information about the Chef show on Thursday nights. The trivia game is fire. And we missed the Chef, but we're holding it down in his absence. I'm Juan Carlos Pena. You can find me at FF Juan of a Kind. I write for Fantasy Intervention and thetiltisreal.com. Check out my work there. And we'll see you next week.
It's great stuff. We will see you next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Juan, what do we have next week?
We're not sure yet. Next week might be a little potpourri because it's not yet the fantasy of the free agent frenzy.
Because that's the 15th.
That is the 15th. That is on Monday. It's going to be a special episode on Monday the 15th.
Looking at in the odds of March. That's what it is.
Right. So the next episode on Wednesday is probably going to be Cutthroat Wednesday because that's where all the cuts should have been made by around that time, and we're going to see who's been released and who's been cut off the block and who's been extended and all that stuff before the official free agency period begins. And we'll do a little preview into free agency to set Monday's episode up.
Sounds good to me, Tilters. Tilt Squad, tune in next week. Tune in the week after that. It's going to be great. We're going to keep you here throughout the offseason to get you ready for the next season. And we will see you. It's almost here.
Yeah.
It really is.
Drafted.
All right, Tilt Squad. We will see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for more great fantasy football content. We'll catch you guys next time on The Tilt is Real.